What do you do when life throws obstacles your way that seem insurmountable and you're left standing at the crossroads of resilience and surrender? On today's episode of Lifejacked, the Resilience Podcast, I have someone who has not only faced such challenges head on, but has also turned them into powerful stepping stones for personal growth and transformation. My special guest is Brooke DeBoer, a renowned motivational speaker, author, and resilience coach who has dedicated her life to helping others navigate through life's toughest storms. With her unique stories and insights, Brooke inspires us to see adversity as an opportunity to rise stronger and more determined than ever. I'm thrilled to dive into this meaningful discussion with Brooke about courage, hope, and the remarkable journeys we can all embark on when we harness the power of resilience.
Sometimes life gives us lemons. Sometimes it gives us lemonade. Other times it gives us something entirely out of left field that makes us say, WTF. But no matter what obstacles come, there is most often a way out on the other side, and we are once again victorious. My name is Dr. Brooke, and you are listening to my podcast about resilience. Every guest shares a tragedy to triumph story to give listeners like you the inspiration to push through every single day. Listen now as my next guest shares how they were life-jacked.
Hi, Brooke. Welcome. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, most definitely. I'm excited to have you on here as well. As I was doing the research and preparing for this interview, or this conversation rather, I was like, oh my gosh, she's like a really cool person. So
thank you.
I'm really excited for this conversation. So can you start by sharing your personal journey with our listeners?
Absolutely. My journey is, well, let's see, I'm 50 now, just turned 50 this year, and I'm a mom of 3 daughters and a wife of a race car driver and a car dealer. So we have a very, very busy life, and it's taken me up till when I wrote my book, which was a 2-year process. It's Living the Free Life, which we'll, I'm sure, discuss. It's taken me up to the point of writing the book to heal from a lot of trauma from the past. I carried it like baggage along with me for many, many years and sorted it out along the way. And there were several moments in my experience where I realized change needed to happen in order for me to get on course to live the life that I wanted to live. And so it was incremental for me. It wasn't like one really hard thing happened and then I worked through it and then that was that. It was many hard things and many healing and growing moments of failure, moments of trying to understand what my choices had led me to and through. So, and it kind of really came to a head when I had some abusive relationships when I was in high school. I had quite a bit of bullying at every stage of my school experience. And then I ended up in a relationship that was very unhealthy. And I ended up pregnant with my first daughter. And so was facing the idea of becoming a single mom. I had always wanted to be a mom, but I was not in a healthy place. And I think she really was the inspiration, the beginning inspiration for my healing and the person that I have become today. Because when I realized I was going to be a mom, I thought, I'm really not in the place I want to be, and I need to become a better person for, being an example and a mom to my daughter. So a big change had to occur early on in that relationship, and I had to say goodbye to that relationship. I had to make a stand. I had to make a stand for myself, and it was a very difficult moment, but I asked her biological dad to go and began my journey as a single mom I was still pregnant with her, obviously. So went through the pregnancy and had to figure out what just happened and how I got there and how I was going to be better for her. So I would say, yeah, it was a big moment.
I understand. And, lots of us go through these ups and downs, right, throughout our lives. But there sometimes is that one pivotal moment, right, that major life-jacked moment, if you will, that can lead us to make a change or pivot, right? So for you, what was that particular life-jacked moment where you're like, whoa, something's got to change? And then you became so passionately involved in the field of resilience and personal empowerment? Because all of us go through different things, but not all of us propel forward and decide that we want to make resilience and personal empowerment like a focus or a passion.
Yeah. So I would say for me, that moment was, other than, the moment, I mean, I ended up having two other children, and I would say a very successful marriage. We did have to do some marriage counseling and stuff because I met my husband shortly after my first daughter was born, and it was not the man that was her biological father. And I believe that that was kind of a God moment for me, meeting him. But then we went on and had a family, and how, as it is when you have little kids, it's busy, and you just start, you do everything for your children, and the inspiration to heal was obviously to be a good mom for my daughter. But then I feel like I kind of got left behind, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just, the way it is when you have kids. And so later, as my kids got older, I had a health challenge, and I ended up with a very serious thyroid sudden incident and pretty much couldn't do anything. My body was shutting down and not working right, and I had to get with my doctor and figure out what's going on. And after his assessment and tests and everything, and needing to kind of go on thyroid medication, but then also he prescribed like therapeutic massage and for my family to do the dishes for a while so that I could heal and get my body strong again over a period of months. And he basically said this was a stress-induced condition, and which was really a wake-up call for me, because I realized that I had gone through a lot, and I'm not sure I totally tied it together in that moment, but that I was doing everything for everybody else, and I was just kind of powering through life. And that was my trauma response. And that was also the response to taking care of people that I loved, my children and my husband. But I was getting left behind, and I needed to learn how to do self-care. So I embarked on a journey I called it a year of you, and I started a blog, and I started to just really do a lot of introspective work and caring for myself and following my doctor's orders at first, and trying out regular therapeutic massage and journaling and prayer and many different things. And I did that for an entire year, and I ended up, I would say, a mostly different person, because I was healing and realizing that I was carrying a lot. I was also doing therapy at the time, so a lot was coming out at therapy, a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions that I just really were trapped inside of me and I'd never really dealt with.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, because it seems like that is a common theme for us as mothers, right? We spend so much time taking care of everyone else because we feel that sense of duty. I think it develops once the moment we find out that we are pregnant. I really believe that. It's like something shifts in us, and it's like, that's my duty. I got to take care of me. I got to take care of this child. I got to take care of the family. And we do often forget about ourselves. And I agree, like, it seems like it is self-induced. But what do we do, though, Brooke? Like, I just, as I talk to either other mothers and friends, and it's like we all seem to have that same kind of, kind of sense of duty to our families, that we have to take care of everyone else, and we always forget about ourselves, and we kind of lose ourselves. So what do you recommend that, mothers and women who are also, taking care of other people, whether they are taking care of parents or women who are taking care of children, whether they are their own biological children or adopted children or children by marriage. But either way, those of us who are taking care of others, like, how do you not lose yourself? What can we do?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I can speak for me, and, I work as a coach with other women, so I would say this is a common approach that seems to help is to take some quiet moments to get present with yourself and ask yourself how you're feeling. What is my motivation for whatever it is that I'm doing at the moment? Whether if I'm trying to manage a conflict between my kids or a relationship challenge a friend is having, or whatever the things are that we take on, or something my husband's going through. I think if we build in some quiet moments of, introspective time, whether if that's journaling, meditation, just allowing for just quiet moments to have coffee or tea by yourself. I think our world is so busy and so much information's coming at us all the time now with social media. And I think awareness of our habits around social media are really important nowadays too. This is like a really common thing. I think a lot of us just are so overwhelmed and tired that our downtime consists of sitting down and scrolling through social media or something, or watching a mindless show, which is all fine because those may be things you enjoy. But when you're not able to get quiet with your own thoughts and pay attention, then you're in like an auto response mode, and I think that's where we tend to sort of continue our habits that might not be necessarily all that healthy for us.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been a lot of quiet moments and forcing myself to do that. And even like the prescription for therapeutic massage was so helpful because it was like, okay, it was almost like I needed somebody else to tell me this is what you have to do to take care of myself. And I hope that women can get to a place that are listening to this, they can get to a place like, I can write that prescription for myself. I don't need somebody to tell me. My prescription can be for my own version of self-care that works for me. So the things that bring me joy, the moments where I can have a little quiet time to do a little self-reflection, however that comes for you. For some people, it's through writing. For some people, it's through sitting quietly. For some people, it's taking a walk. And I get a lot of epiphanies and thoughts when I take a walk or I go do something active on my own. Or just allowing for a little bit of time to take care of your own thoughts and your heart.
Yeah, I feel like taking a walk really does help. I mean, I don't know if it's because you get your blood pumping and, you're moving, and so it gets your thoughts going, but I do know that taking a walk really does help sometimes. Now, you discussed embracing change as a catalyst for growth. And I know that for a lot of us, whether it's change that we know about, or if it's a sudden change, because I know within my newsletter, Strength on Sundays, I just talked about, I have a week where I talked about adaptability and, pivoting, at the last minute when something enters into your life that's unexpected. So can you elaborate on how you've applied this principle? Because nobody likes change, right? It's like, it's not an easy thing. But you saying, hey, it's a catalyst for growth. So how have you applied this principle in your own life? And maybe perhaps share a time when change you initially resisted, it turned out to be transformative.
Oh, there's so many of those. It's crazy. I'll have to think of one. But my first response to your question is change is scary because it's an unknown. We like to know what's coming, and we like to know what it's going to look like. And honestly, I have found that all of my most amazing, beautiful moments in life have come from not being in a place where I was so vulnerable and so humbled by something was disrupted, whether if it was a rejection in a relationship, or I was let go from a job, or I didn't get the job or position I was looking for. Those are the moments where we're kind of forced to go, okay, now, and for some people it's God, some people it's the universe, maybe, I don't know, whatever it is for you. For me, it's God. It puts me in a really vulnerable place, but also like a really connected place to something higher than myself. And I really just have learned to ask, like, okay, guide me to the next thing. And I mean, this happened, felt like, I mean, the only way I can describe it, and I was actually physically on my knees when I was letting go of this relationship and, beginning to think about being a single mom. That was a point where I was like, okay, God, show me the way, and and when I could completely release any control or needing to know is when within several months I got a phone call from my now husband, who we've been married 26 years, who I had met 4 years prior. And he said, I'm coming up to Portland. I'd love to see you. And it was not at all the timing that I thought it was going to be, because I was a young mom. I mean, just had become a mom just a few months before. This is not the timing you're really looking to date, at least probably for most women. If you're a single mom, you're not like out searching for a husband with a 4-month-old or a 3-month-old.
Right.
But I do believe it was a very amazing moment for me. It was like, it taught me that if I could release control and ask for guidance, that it would come. And whatever you want to call that, for me, I feel like it was a beautiful teaching moment. And I've leaned on that moment many times since then, in many other situations when I wanted to be so upset that something wasn't going the way I thought it was supposed to go. And always it works out beautifully, So
yeah.
And I'm sure this sounds really funny to somebody who's going through in a really dark place and going through something really hard, and maybe, is going through something much more extreme even than I did. But I can tell you just from my own experience that I feel a presence. I know that there is a guiding force out there, whatever you want to call it, and you're going to be okay. You will get your answers, and just stay open.
For sure. Stay open is right. Now, you've mentioned the importance of building a resilience toolkit. So what are some of the things that are in your toolkit, and how can listeners start building their own?
So I love the idea of a toolkit, just because my dad was a landscaper and I grew up working with him, and he always had a tool for everything. And I feel like we all need a toolkit for life. And, not everybody's tools are going to be the same, because we're all unique individuals. But I feel like there's some that have really worked for me that are just, and I'm sure you've heard of them before, many of your listeners probably know a lot of these, but when you put them together, I feel like they make a really good basic toolkit for getting over challenges. And I've mentioned mindfulness and journaling. So I don't do a whole lot of meditation. I've tried it out, and it's a little hard for me to sit super quiet, and incorporating some movement with that would, I guess, be yoga. But journaling has worked really well for me, and just having quiet moments in the morning. I used to do morning pages a lot. I've gotten a little bit out of practice, but writing in the morning, just kind of like a brain dump in the morning, like just a whole page of whatever it is that's on your mind, getting those thoughts out on paper. It helps with like release and gaining clarity. Practicing gratitude daily is super helpful, because I really believe in manifestation, and I really like the concepts of The Secret. That you attract the energy that you put out. So if you're focused on lack, like you're going to attract more of that. If you're focused on what good is happening in your life, you will attract more of that into your experience. So I think daily gratitude's awesome. One of my biggest ones, and I wrote a children's book about it too, because this is one that I realized was super important for me and my husband. His story is totally different, but is finding supportive relationships and people who share similar values. You don't have to be exactly the same, but people who understand you, they take time to see you, and they want you to win. And bringing a small circle, or at least one person around you, that is like your biggest cheerleader, because I don't believe we're designed to do this life on our own. And I really needed that. And that ended up being my husband for me. And I hope that I think he would say I've been that for him and his dreams and goals. And now this is something that we go out and we talk to other youth about. being a friend to somebody and finding somebody supportive to live your dreams, because everybody needs a cheerleader and an advocate. So I'd say those are the top ones. And I think other than that, just that reflection time, focus on what brings you peace, what gives you strength, and what is inspiring to you. And then make practices in your life around bringing more of that into your experience, and then those could become your personal tools.
No, that I totally agree with you, because as I do this resilience work and work with the clients, I'm sure as you have also noticed as you're working with your clients as well.
Yeah.
Community and relationships play a crucial role in our resilience. I mean, you do have to find people to surround yourself with who want you to win. Like that's that's like part of it. And it's amazing to find out how many people don't have a supportive, network around them. So in thinking about that, and for our listeners out there, so for you, how have your personal and professional relationships influenced your journey? And then what advice do you have for others who are trying to build that supportive network? Because I do know that sometimes people can't recognize the people who do want them to win, and they're not moving forward, or they're having a lot of trials because they're surrounded by people who are actually sabotaging them.
I mean, I learned that I needed that because I had so much of the other. So I totally understand your question, like more than I wish I did, to be honest, because over and over and over again, I invited, and I didn't realize I was inviting it at first. And I think, this is not to say, like, if you're in an abusive relationship, you've invited that. But I do think that there is a powerful concept of we teach people how to treat us by what we accept. So if you can assimilate that into your, practice, just write that out. I don't know, say it to yourself every day. And for those of you that are in an abusive situation or something really dangerous, there are, and I list them in my book, there are resources and organizations out there to help you and to keep you safe while you're escaping something really, really scary and hard. So I don't mean to make light of it or anything, but for those of you that aren't in a dangerous situation, that are just, you feel bad, your energy, you feel like you have to detox or something, you feel angry after you're with somebody, or you feel like you've spent time with somebody and you just don't feel any confidence afterwards. Pay attention to how people make you feel and what they say to you. And is it supportive of you? Is it somebody who's cheering you on, or is somebody competing with you, jealous of you, doing put downs publicly, embarrassing you? There's so many different things that can happen in a dysfunctional situation, but it's okay for you to say, this doesn't work for me, and step out of it. And begin to make your list of what kind of relationships would really make you feel at peace and build you up. What do you need from a friend? What do you need from a partner? And it's okay to ask for that, and it's okay to not be around somebody who is unkind to you. If it's family, it's a little harder. So, I don't want to name any names just because it's not my story, but I do have a family member that had family that was not very overt, but they were not getting support to do the dream that they wanted to do. So a little bit of separation had to be made, but it was, there was a way to strategically do it so they didn't have to cut off their whole family, but they really had to get courageous about finding a different support team and some professionals to help them realize what was at work with the comments that were being made, and the sort of subtle energy of not wanting them to succeed at this dream kind of thing. So there are professionals, there are good people out there, and if you're diligent, you can find a way out of a really heavy dysfunctional situation like that with people who are unsupported.
One thing I know is that it's hard to understand, but failure absolutely leads to success. People think that leads to success, but I honestly believe that failure leads to success. So as somebody who has confronted and overcome numerous challenges, what is the most important lesson you feel you've learned about failure?
I feel like failure is a strengthening tool. Like, there really are no failures, there's only lessons. And a failure is a temporary feeling, right? So as long as we look at it like, okay, what are the things that maybe I could adjust here? It's interesting because we have a friend that is in professional sports, and we just spoke to him yesterday. He had a change in his situation with the team he was with. And the first question he asked when that wasn't working out was, what could I have done better? And I thought, I'm so proud of you. Like, this is the question we all need to be asking, like when we feel like we failed at something, when really I also think rejection is protection. So what sometimes feels like a failure is really a protection for you, and there's something better for you waiting. It's just that we didn't, again, it's one of those things you didn't get to see or know about. So you're just being redirected, so failure sometimes isn't really a failure at all. It's just protection, and you're being moved to something else. But to always take a failure and look, what could I have, maybe what could I have done a little bit better? How could I have adjusted my approach? It teaches resilience, humility. I think ego is one of the biggest dream killers, because when our ego gets too large, it's hard to stay open. It's hard to let the universe or God lead. It's hard to see some of the things. We're too self-involved, And I think failure does bring humility, because we're not going to get it right 100% of the time. And it sort of brings us back down to earth and makes us recalibrate, So
Absolutely.
Those are how I've learned to approach failure. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes there is a lot of pain at first, but once you can get through that, and start looking at it differently and changing your mindset about it, it's a great teaching tool and learning, growing tool.
No, absolutely. Well, Brooke, I knew this conversation was going to be a great conversation. It's hard to believe that our time is almost up, but I have one last question to ask you, and that if you could offer one piece of advice to someone standing at the brink of giving up on how to build resilience, what would it be and why?
So based on my own experience, if you're going through something really, really hard and feel that you've failed, maybe you're at the bottom or what you think is the bottom, I think to just look at this as temporary. Remember that it's temporary and you still have a future filled with possibility. Each day, each moment is a new moment, and you're much stronger than you think. Your story's not over, and you have the power to rewrite your story. It's really good to remember that this is just a temporary blip on the radar, a little bump in the road. And there'll probably be more, but you're getting stronger so that you can take on the next bumps easier and with more grace. It's just strengthening, like working out in the gym. You have to build that muscle.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Each moment is a new moment, and you have the power to write your story. Brooke, thank you so much for sharing your invaluable insights and experiences with us today. Your journey is a testament to the power of resilience, and I'm sure it will inspire many of my listeners to view their own challenges in a new light. So as we're wrapping up, can you tell us where the audience can find more of your work and any upcoming projects you're excited about? And also, how can they find you on social media?
Yes. Okay. Well, we have lots of things happening, which are so exciting. We just wrapped up first of all, my book is Living the Free Life. It's available on Amazon Prime. I also have a website. It's called thebrookedeboer.com, and where you can get in touch with me for any of my coaching services. And we also have a series which encourages, this is a little bit of a departure from the women's coaching that I do, but my first client was my husband. I didn't know it was, but long story. It's another story for another day. And I produced a show called Fast Life, and it's all about us supporting him to do his dream of driving race cars. So that'll be going up on 2 new platforms in the next month or so, and that's Binge, and it's called Fast Life, and also on the Go Travel network. So really fun. It used to be on Amazon Prime, so now we've shifted to those 2 platforms, and there's probably going to be new material and content coming. So, and we have a children's book wrapped into that, which encourages kids to follow their dreams. So, and that's all connected to my website, thebrookedeboer.com.
Wow. Well, any last words of encouragement for the listeners, Brooke?
Just be yourself and believe in yourself, and everything is going to be okay. I know that. Just keep working, keep growing, keep healing. Success and healing is a journey, not a destination.
Fantastic. Well, Brooke, thank you again. I want to wish you and your family nothing but blessings and abundance. Please take care.
Thank you. Right back to you.
Brooke DeBoer, everyone. Be sure to join me next time for more uplifting stories and insights on resilience. Until then, keep pushing forward, embrace the journey, and remember that every setback can lead to a greater comeback. Dr. Rowe, signing off.